Hello everybody, welcome back to Band Trading Cards. And today, in this video, we're gonna learn more about the Chaos Ensuming, and the creator is here, Chris Katz, to explain how the game works. And we're gonna welcome Chris Katz to Band Trading Cards. Hi Chris, how are you?
Thank you for having me. I'm doing pretty well. How about yourself?
I'm good, I'm good. Yeah, I'm excited to learn more about this game, and it looks cool. I have your cards, and then the artwork quality is good. Yeah. So I want to know more about the gameplay. So yeah, please teach us.
Well, initially, if we're looking at standard, we would have a 60 to 80 card deck where you would start off with a hand of 7 cards. Essentially, because the minimum of the deck is 60, we would take away to 0, you have a 6 hand, then you add 1 on top of that. So you'd have 7 cards to start with. So
Mm-hmm.
as you can see, I drew a hand of 7. And then you have the main field where you can play. Here, I'll put the hand where it can be viewed. Well, to begin with, I have a blood creature in my hand. So right here, you have the blood realm. I don't know if you can see the box on my screen,
Okay. Blood
but
Realm. Uh-huh.
it's a blood creature, so I can play it to the blood realm. Once
Okay.
per turn, you can play one creature to the blood realm. And then once per turn, you can also play one creature to the main field. So I'll do that right now. I'll
Mm-hmm.
play Raging Slime to the main field in attack position. But I could also choose to turn him to face up defense position. So I could play him in face up defense position. I could also play him in face down defense position. And then I could also play him in face down attack position,
Mm-hmm.
whichever it will be. But for now, I'll have it face up so you could see. And then these right here, the black ones are shadow spells. You have two different variants of spells. Let me look in the deck to pull out a different. There's that one, and then here's a bluff. So I could
Mm-hmm.
describe the spells. This is a shadow spell. You essentially would set a shadow spell into your spell field and set them face down. You can play as many spells as you want during your turn, but the shadow spell specifically, you would have to wait until your turn is ended and gone to the next player.
Mm-hmm.
For light spells, you can play it immediately. So assume I have a few creatures in my grave. This spell specifically says that all players may add one spell and one soul from their grave to their hands. Any creature that is dead is in your grave or exile or face down exile. If they are there and it's a creature, they are considered as a soul because they are dead. So this card denotes that you can select one spell and one soul from your grave and add it to your hand, as well as your opponent. This card cannot be responded to, and after this effect resolves, skip your draw phase and end your turn. So this spell you can play during your turn, but you cannot play during your opponent's turn. The only way that you could play a spell during your opponent's turn or any other time is if you have an instant,
Mm-hmm.
where this card right here would be an instant spell.
My question: How do you know that's an instant?
When you look down on the bottom right hand corner, you see a lightning bolt with two holes in it.
I got it. Yeah.
This
There you go.
denotes that it is an instant spell.
Mm-hmm.
Then this card here, it is a light spell, but it is a different kind of light spell. As you see in the top left corner of the text box, it says bluff. A
Oh yeah.
bluff is a type of a creature. So it is a spell, but assume it's in my hand. So here I put it in my hand, then I flip it face down, and I set it to the field. So my opponent would assume that it is a creature. As soon as it's revealed, it would be revealed that it is not a creature and it's a spell. When your opponent Say Raging Slime is my opponent's creature, and it attacks my bluff. I have the bluff activated by the opponent.
Okay.
So the bluff is activated. This card says Spiral the attacking creature. So essentially, bouncing a creature would be taking a creature from your field and putting it into your hand. Spiraling a creature is similar, except this is going from anywhere into your deck and shuffling. So spiraling a creature would be taking this creature, adding it to your deck, and then automatically shuffling.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So just to replace that creature that I shuffled in, you could say I have these to the field and I set those. Then for turn, I draw to end my turn. So the beginning turn, you have your phase where you set all your creatures. So I've set everything I wanted. If it's the other player has already made a turn, has passed the first turn, then I can go to my battle phase. After I've gone to my battle phase, I can choose to attack. If I have any spells that I can activate, I can choose to activate them. The blood creature can attack directly over the main field creatures. And the only thing that can block a blood creature is an effect from a card or another blood creature.
Mm-hmm.
If this is a blood creature and it blocks, say it blocks Akabish, and assume this has a 100-100 defense. You look on Akabish, the smaller text is its secondary stats for when it is in the blood realm. If it is on the main field, the main stats would be prevailing. But since it is not, it has 100 attack and 150 defense.
Yeah.
Assuming this blocking creature is a 100-100 token, Akabish would take 100 damage to its defense.
Yes.
Then Akabish's attack would do 100 damage to the token's defense. This would kill the token. And then say the token's defense was over 200, you'd have a stalemate, and then Akabish wouldn't be able to attack again this turn, and the token would not be able to block again this turn.
I have a question about token. What is a token?
A token is anything that is generated from a card. Slime Newt right here, it's a slime creature, and its name is Newt. Its effect says that whenever this creature is sent to the grave as a result of an attack, create a slime token with 0 attack and 0 defense on the main field. So this creature, its effect would cause a token to appear.
Mm-hmm.
So anything that causes a duplication of a card creates a token.
As long as the
Or if
as
it,
sorry, as long as the card will say there you create a token. Not all cards
exactly,
will do that, right? Okay.
not all cards.
Okay.
The slime deck specifically is based around creating tokens and duplicating its own creatures.
Mm-hmm.
You do have some minor situational cards, but other than that, that's the main idea of it. This would be more of a situational card, even though it does duplicate. It gains madness when you pay 1 soul. So to pay a soul, you would take a creature that's in your grave and you would bring it to your exile. So you would exile the soul that is you paying your soul.
Mm-hmm.
So due to this card's effect says that once per turn you can pay a soul to duplicate 1 slime that is not Disgraced Soldier. This names Disgraced Soldier specifically, even though it is a warrior card, because there is a card in the slime deck, the Fear card, which is essentially the boss creature. When it kills a creature that is level 3 or lower, you can unique conjure it to your field as a slime creature. So if that happened with this card, it would be a slime, and then you could multiply its duplication process per turn. So to prevent that loophole, you cannot duplicate Disgraced Soldier. This
Okay.
effect gains madness when this card is activated. And madness essentially means that it can attack your opponent directly. Their blood creatures can still block. But once you have drawn to end your turn, the creature with madness is now dead. It does not count as a sacrifice.
So dead means it goes to the graveyard or exile.
Goes to the grave.
Okay. And my
It is
question,
killed, it is dead.
yeah, my question is, you said soul. What card represents the soul?
Any creature that's in the grave. It could be a blood creature, it could be an earth creature, as long as it's a creature.
And where do you put it?
The grave. If you're paying a soul, you could place it to the exile like this.
And then that's a soul already, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Now I don't have any other cards that pay your opponent's souls, but assume that you have a card that says you pay me a soul, you would take a you would select a creature in my exile and you would bring it back to my grave.
Okay.
And this mechanic is essentially so you have resources that, depending on your deck build, you may want your resources to benefit from cards being in your exile, or you might want to benefit your cards being in your grave. So, by paying you a soul, if you want it in your exile so you could bring it to your hand or back to your deck, they could thwart you for that and put it right into your grave instead.
Mm-hmm. And this is particularly for a certain deck, correct?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Depends how you build your deck.
All right. So I can see here that slime has the ability of duplications, right? But other decks has different abilities, correct?
Of course,
All right.
I'll be as the game is created, there will be different abilities.
Mm-hmm.
The sand deck that is being made at the moment, there's only one card in the sand deck here, and so this one it's a limited edition card, but it does not have the effect that the sand deck will specialize in, which will be Chol. Chol is essentially when a creature has Chol, it cannot defend, and your opponent cannot attack it. So if I only have one creature on the field and it has Chol, say it has to be given Chol. So if it's given Chol or you activate Chol on that creature, your opponent cannot attack that creature. They must attack you directly.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's other cards. The fear creature for the sand deck, you have to sacrifice one creature to bring it out to the main field from your hand. So if you bring it out, say this is a creature, all your opponent's creatures in the blood realm and main field automatically gain Chol. So it has about, I believe it was 1900 attack. It would
Mm-hmm.
be able to attack you directly. Being you have 10,000 life, it's not that much hitting you in the long run.
Okay.
So yes, there are different effects, but it varies at times.
Um, is Chol is like forcing a creature to attack, right?
No,
No?
Soul would be forcing the creature to be essentially off of the field while it's still on the field. So
So it's
no
like
one can attack
paralyzed.
it essentially, except you cannot target it with anything. No spells can be placed on it while it has Chol. Nothing can bounce it, nothing can spiral it, nothing can attack it.
Mm-hmm.
It cannot attack.
So it's like it's in the void. It's nothing, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes. It is very defenseless.
It cannot attack, it cannot defend, it's just like floating in space. Nothing, right?
Yes.
Okay, got it. And that would be in that turn only, correct?
It depends. Some cards, say like the Chol from the Fear creature, it says that it gains Chol for X many turns. I believe it was two.
Oh, okay.
But if it does not say it, then it is until end of turn.
Uh-huh. I
And
get it.
essentially, all effects that end up having an effect that would end up going away, it would be until end of turn unless it says otherwise.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And all effects will be similar to that to make things simplistic.
So what I can see here is that Chol is better for those who are so strong cards, so it can't attack on the next turn, correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
if you
Okay.
want to hit your opponent for something real strong, if you have that option, then that would be a good choice. But it could also be to benefit to keep your opponent from doing anything at that point in time because you need to build your defenses back up.
Yeah, makes sense.
Then the game itself, you start off with your hand of 7, then you go to play everything, you go to your battle phase, and during your battle phase, if you happen to unique conjure a creature to the field, then that creature has summoning sickness. It
Mm-hmm.
cannot attack during that turn because it was brought out during your battle phase.
Yeah.
This rule is essentially to have in prevention of someone, for some reason, bringing out a insanely strong creature and killing the opponent without them having a proper amount of time to build up and respond to it.
Yeah. And what? How do you have a resource system?
Yes, the resource system is souls,
Okay.
and that is essentially the only amount of resources you'll see apart from life. Some cards will demand life from you, some cards will demand that you do X motion or action, but most of the cards that require compensation, they will require a soul in one form or the other.
So how do you pay with, for example, this Gray Soldier? How do you know it's resource?
Because it says it requires a soul.
Oh,
Anything that requires something requires a resource from you.
so it's written on the text box, right?
Yes,
Okay. And what
yes.
is the blue one circle thing on the right?
That is the orb that represents your level.
Okay.
You have 6 different levels, 1 through 6. I'm not going to include the extra deck because I do not have extra deck in TTS to visually show you the variations in it because that essentially works on a negative.
Mm-hmm.
But you have 1 to 6. There's only one creature that has a level 6, and that is the strongest creature in the game. It has 4,000 attack and 4,000 defense.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way there's going to be more level 6s is at the moment, the plan is as each set releases, there will be a different variant that continues the story on that creature to show why it is the strongest or just to simply increase its lore. And then anything further under that, you're going to have level 5s. And
Mm-hmm.
level 5s and 6, if they do not have a special condition to bring them out, then you need to sacrifice one creature on your field that you have them on. Um, I'll show an example. This is the fear card for the slime deck. And that's a blood creature. Where is the level 5? Then right here is a level 5. So if I want to bring out this card from my hand, I have 2 different options because this card here, as you mentioned in the video that you did earlier, this card, Remnant,
Mm-hmm.
is mentioned in Doom. It says it evolves from Remnant. So say its first turn, I draw 7 cards. 2 of the cards I draw is Remnant and Doom. What I can do is I can play Remnant. Remnant lets me create 1 token that's a copy of Remnant,
Mm-hmm.
and it negates its own self from duplicating, so the token cannot duplicate, but next turn you can duplicate. I could take Doom from my hand, and I could evolve this token to bring out Doom immediately. Where normally a level 5 or level 6, I would need to sacrifice 1 creature to bring it out.
Okay. So this is some kind of like evolution in
Yes.
other games, yeah, or mutation.
A few cards I'll have evolutions, that'll be few and far between, but it's going to be very specific so it links to the lore, and I'll need to balance it so it does not affect the game in a negative manner.
Mm-hmm. So this one is always will have like an evolve from something, right? So if you see that, you need to have a card that comes for that evolution.
It would be better for you to, but you don't have to. If you are not able to get Remnant in your hand,
Mm-hmm.
you could sacrifice Newt to summon him.
Oh, okay.
Then, for the Blood Realm, if you notice with Mother, she is a blood creature.
Okay.
So, because it is a blood creature, I would need to play it in the Blood Realm.
Okay.
So, I would have to take a blood creature and sacrifice it to bring Mother to the Blood Realm.
Okay, so the resource system is 1:1. So you sacrifice a card and then bring down a card, correct? Or
Yes.
is this a standard, or do you have like sacrifice two and bring down one? Do you have those, or it's 1:1?
Currently, I do not, but eventually, if I get cards that I believe are powerful enough
Yes.
or need to be nerfed, then they would eventually, yes, they would eventually have it.
So it's like fighting your opponent, and then once you want to evolve, you eat up your own creature and bring down another, something like that, right? Okay, that's
And the blood deck specifically will have a lot of blood creatures,
mm-hmm.
so it will play completely different than most decks. Like this would specifically use the main field as your front cannon fodder, and then the back realm for the blood realm would be used as archers. These specific archers would attack directly since they go over the main field. So with a blood deck, what would happen? Say you have this, you attack me directly, just assume I have no creatures on the field,
Mm-hmm.
and you attack me directly. I can take my blood creature in the blood realm and send it to the grave by sacrificing it to block your attack immediately and
Oh.
then negate your attack completely.
So you won't be hit. I won't hit your strong creature, like
Not that
sacrificing.
turn. You won't hit my life because if the field is empty, you would be dealing damage to my 10,000 life.
Uh, okay. So 10,000 lives is the player's life, right? And
Yes.
your creatures are the ones defending you, right?
Yes.
Okay, I got it.
In the blood realm, the creatures you choose the defenders. On the main field, you would choose which one you're attacking.
Yeah. Okay.
So they are, you could compare the blood realm closer to magic, and then you can compare the main field closer to dual monsters with its mechanics. For instance, this is an attack position. I would take damage, or at least be in risk of it when you attack it. If
Okay.
it's in defense, I
Sorry.
take
Go
no
ahead.
damage.
Okay. So my question is, if I attack this card, does this
Yeah,
retaliate? Its attack is
no.
400, right? Or it's just
You
defending?
attack it, it would defend. That's it.
Ah.
I would have the option to, let me see if any of the spells down here. All right. This one wouldn't do nothing to benefit that battle specifically, but this one is dash. It's an
Yeah.
instant. I could activate it from my hand. You would gain 500 life, and then your creature itself would lose 500 attack.
Oh yeah. Yeah, because it's
And
sensitive
then
card. All right.
I could also, since this is a shadow card, it this is a good example where it doesn't pertain to the battle, but I could still activate it in response of you.
Mm-hmm.
This would say I can unique conjure a level 1 to 4 creature from my deck to the main field. So I'd be able to search my deck and select one and bring it out.
Unique creature, a level 1 to 4 slime creature from your deck to the main field. Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, so you got it from the deck and there to the main field. Okay, got it.
Yes.
Uh-huh. So Blood
But
Realm is always on the blood cards. The one that has a circle
yeah,
there that says blood, right?
hmm
on top
It's
of the
always
card.
blood. You always, from your hand to the field, it's always blood. But once in a great while, I'm experimenting with this at the moment, but there will be a effect of a card that will cause a creature from someone's main field to go to their blood realm. And even though it's not a blood creature,
Yeah.
it's given secondary stats and treated as a blood creature.
Okay. It becomes a blood creature. Okay. And it's there's a card for that, right? That it will
There
convert that to
is,
blood.
but it's not in PTS at the moment.
Okay.
I'm experimenting with it in the blood deck, and I'm awaiting some files so I could experiment further.
Mm-hmm. And all the spells right here, how do you put that on the field? What is the requirement or
You
resource?
just set them face down. There's no requirement to play them
And should it
unless
be
the,
face down?
unless you want to activate it. The
Okay.
shadow spells, as I mentioned earlier, you would set them face down like this,
Yeah.
and then you would not be able to activate it until you end your turn.
Okay.
And then I end my turn and it's on you, then I can activate it.
So it's like facing it down, it's like summoning sickness of a spell,
Essentially,
right?
yes.
Because you can't play that on your on that turn.
Now, instance,
Oh yeah,
you would
instant.
have
Other than
that'd be the
instants.
one that'd be the one issue where it would not.
So instants
Now,
can be played from your hand.
yes,
Okay, got it.
they can be played for your hand or the field. There is field destruction and there is hand destruction in both of the TTS decks. So that is something that you would also want to worry about when you're playing, of which is a greater threat to that card, in your hand or on the field.
By the way, this face down exile, what is that?
That is essentially like most other games. Whenever a creature or spell is sent to your face down exile, no one can look at it, no one can touch it. I am looking into, there's already one card in here that works pretty well with it, that you would shuffle the face down exile and randomly add whatever card to your deck or your hand, whichever the effect says. So
Mm-hmm.
that is a ability I am looking to expand on, and also using them for resources in some way or the other.
Oh, so that's not totally exiled. It's
Not
just.
totally.
Oh, okay.
It's going to be harder to reach than your normal exile, but exile is easier to reach than the grave. And then milling cards and getting into your deck is going to be is going to be insanely harder to get into your deck as far as searching cards, grabbing cards, pulling cards
Mm-hmm.
than most games. Your deck is essentially locked, though there are cards that pull for it. I'll show an example of how it's locked. This single card would be bad in most games. This one is, I'm fixing a misprint with it with the tech, but when you read it, it says to activate this card, reveal a creature in your hand and set it atop of your deck. Name a creature type, creature, light, or shadow. If this card type you name is in their hand, they place it atop their grave. So essentially, they would choose, if they have one of those, they would choose which one and they would put it to their grave. The creature that, this is a pretty good card for hand destruction in this game. And you'll see with a negative, you take the creature in your hand and you place it atop your deck. The text fix that I need to have placed is that after you activate this card, you skip your draw phase and end your turn.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially, it's adding to your deck. So you are, I believe that would be a -1 on card advantage, or even -2 at sometimes, and then go immediately to your opponent. But even then, it's still a pretty good card.
So, what's the use of this deception? I don't get the putting it in the discard and then to activate discard, reveal a creature in your
Uh,
hand. Can you give
let's
us an
assume
example
that,
for that? Yeah.
yeah, let's assume these three cards are in your hand. Yeah, this one, and this one.
Okay.
For some reason, you weren't thinking you didn't play that one last turn, the shadow.
All right.
So you have one of each. There's a 3 and 3 chance that I choose one that you have in your hand.
Yes.
For your fear card, let's assume you already have a creature on the field and that my field is blank. And my hand persists of these two cards, Mother and the Disgraced Soldier. So I take Mother and I put her on top of my deck.
Okay.
I may not be able to grab that to the next turn. I still have a blood creature that can block your attacks. Say I choose Shadow, and you see you have a Shadow in your hand.
Mm-hmm.
So that automatically goes to the grave. This Shadow says when a slime creature attacks, select another creature and drag its soul to the grave. So if I end up drawing or having a slime creature and I put it to the field, say with this card, and then I attack, I could activate this card and say you already put this to the field by sacrificing. I attack with my slime creature. I end up having a slime creature that's stronger than this, so it kills him. But if you had that set, you'd be able to drag a different creature to the grave and at least get some sort of benefit from it. So it's taking a resource from you that you could have used. Of course, there's better examples where I could have possibly not fear cards because this doesn't affect fear cards, but another strong card you could have in your hand and it could take it to the grave,
Okay.
which
So
obviously
what I'm seeing here
wouldn't benefit you.
is that this one is like stealing a card from an opponent,
Yes.
right? And using its
Yeah.
ability against the opponent, correct?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
This is one that you might be, it's a little fun to play with whenever you're going and you got a stalemate going. And this is another fun one. This is another card removal.
Mm-hmm.
Then this one, say I have no creatures on my side of the field, it allows me to activate it and immediately exile two cards from your opponent, all players' hands. So imagine there's a 6-player game going on. I have no creatures. It's the beginning of the game. Yeah, I'm not able to play nothing. I go to the next player. I activate it. The second turn of the game, everybody exiles two cards in their hand.
Yep.
So it takes away resources and attacks them.
Okay. Cannot control any creatures in the main field when you activate this card. Okay.
Are you finding these any easier to read?
Yes, it's easy. Yep. Did you
Good.
change the font?
Yes.
Okay, this is better.
I spoke to the tech, commissioned her over it, and got that done.
Mm,
That way
okay.
I nipped it in the bud.
Thank you so
It
much for
did
this.
cause me a little issue with one or two of the cards. Um, I believe C Gambit. I don't know if I could say the name on YouTube, being it's a, more of a slander towards lower class.
Okay.
But C Gambit, as obviously when you look at it, there is an issue with all that text being on there like that,
Yeah.
which when I end up getting the frames redone, it will be less of an issue because it'll be able to fit the full art of that card into the frame. But at the moment, that's something that I'm going to have to deal with while it's still in landscape. Playing with a few people, I've had a few people that didn't notice what these keywords are. Most trading card game players know what they mean because, say, like for Fat Bastard, most people know that a vanilla card is a creature that has no effect. That is one issue that I came around that people didn't understand or know, and that's something I put in because it's common language in most trading card games.
Mm-hmm.
Then with Smokes, he uses the phrase bounce, which is taking a card from the field to your hand. which again, most people know, but there's a select few that play games that aren't really social. They wouldn't know what those phrases would mean.
Yeah, I've seen some cards here from other TCG. This one here, bounce,
Mm-hmm.
and then this one is like wall for the
Yeah.
fat guy. Okay. And
And
then what are these tokens over here?
tokens are just for whenever cards are spawned. I was using those for examples.
This one are just counters? You mean not tokens, but oh sorry. These ones are coins, right?
I have the chips, so
Chips.
you have a quicker, just in case someone's attack gets lowered or you want to put the exact amount of chips onto the card, you can show that.
Oh,
Then
that's. Mm-hmm.
if you zoom out and you end up having too many chips or something you want to rid the board of, like you duplicate a card, if you look on both corners, there's a black hole. And say this card in my hand, I won't use a card. Say this. That's what the extra deck would set on when I have it. But I put it over the black hole and it's gone. That way you have an easy way to do that.
This chips will be used for what? This what's this?
Anything you would need it for.
Points. Okay. It's just
If you
there.
need to say like if you think there's a status effect, place it there if you don't want to use anything else.
Mm-hmm.
I put various ones there because everybody used something different. I don't know what they're comfortable using. Trying to pull up another example. Let's see. Right here, I believe. These two cards are examples of spell cards that have different effects.
Heart of
Heart of
Blood.
Blood has an effect that triggers when it's activated. Then it has a secondary effect. Right now, since the game's real young, I'm writing out what the effect does instead of writing the status onto the card with no description. So on Heart of Blood, you will notice it says Bloodlust.
Mm-hmm.
You may exile this card from the grave to block an attack. Then Little Chance has a different one, and this will be seen whenever I get towards the standard deck that is the Dragon deck. I will start looking to do the Dragon deck sometime after the Sand deck is released and completely finished because it's by the same artist. And it has Fate, which will be common in that deck. While this card is in the grave, you may exile 2 souls to force an opponent to attack. So if they have a creature in attack position, you pay 2 souls, and errata I need to make to that is where you exile that card as well, so you can't do it over and over again. They would not be able to attack with, I mean, they would have to attack with one creature during that turn before they end their turn.
Okay. Do you choose the creature that will be forced to attack, or any
No,
creatures on the field?
it does not specify, so it means that they get to choose.
Okay. So it's useful for those something that if he has the weaker
So if Fat
cards.
Bastard's in defense position and you're attacking with this slime, Fat Bastard has 2,000 defense. He's a pretty good wall.
Yeah.
And you look at Slime's emergence, 1,200 attack. You
Uh-huh.
would force them to attack if that's the only two on the field. That way he can attack into him and take 800 damage. Then this card here is another type of card I am playing around with. When you look, you see it is a vanilla. And I've had a few different game rulings that how this functions specifically. So the way the ruling changed, initially it was you activate it yourself when the rule applies, but I changed that to activating as soon as it's brought in or whenever it applies immediately and you have no choice about it. So
Mm-hmm.
this is still a vanilla creature. The difference with that is that there is going to end up being a lot of vanilla creature support so that effect creatures are dumbed down to a certain extent that if you want to have a vanilla deck, you won't be discriminated for having a vanilla deck specifically, and you could still find people to play competitively. So this rule essentially, if I have two souls in the grave, this card would immediately be sacrificed, and both players would mill two cards or take two cards off of the top of their deck and bring them to the grave.
Um, is this you may or should?
You have to.
Okay.
It's a must. You
All
have no choice
players.
about it.
Mm.
And whenever there's a mechanic where you must, if the other player refuses to do that, then they automatically are forfeit to the game
Oh,
because the cards themselves say you must do this, then you must,
yeah.
unless a card negates the effect or makes the effect unsuitable to go off, then it won't. But if they refuse completely and blatantly, then they're obviously not complying with the game's rules and they're forfeit to the game. The only additional one I can think of is this one is just another status one, and it's a spell card that has Breath of Life. While this is in the grave, this card is treated as a soul and a spell. So this creature, say you have no creatures in your grave and you want to pull off a effect that requires a soul, you could pay that card as a soul from your grave to your exile. I
Oh,
mean,
mm,
that's a lot of information, but
yes.
essentially that.
Okay, thank you so much. So,
Yeah, no problem,
yeah.
man.
And guys, thank you so much for watching this video, and also probably I'm gonna be putting it in podcasts. And all the links for Chaos and Shuming, Discord, all the social media will be in the description. And yeah, thank you so much, Chris, for
There's nothing.
the explanation. And looking forward for the game itself, and that will be soon. Okay?
Yes,
All
sir.
right. See ya, Chris.
Have a good
Thank you.
night. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Bye bye.
Bye.